Today we're diving into what happens when you stop texting a man and why those reactions reveal so much more than just his messaging habits. When you stop texting a man, one of the first reactions he may experience is confusion or concern. This shift in behavior, especially if texting has been a consistent form of communication between you, can trigger a wave of uncertainty for him. Texting often becomes a routine in relationships, a way to stay connected, check in, and maintain a sense of closeness. When that routine is suddenly disrupted, it creates a void, leaving him to wonder about the reasons behind the change. For many men, the absence of your messages can lead to self-questioning. He might replay recent conversations in his mind, analyzing every word and interaction to figure out if he did or said something wrong. This introspection isn't necessarily a sign of guilt or wrongdoing, rather, it's a natural response to a change in a pattern he has grown accustomed to. Humans in general are creatures of habit, and when a familiar behavior is altered, it often prompts reflection and a desire for understanding. He may wonder if you're upset, busy, or simply uninterested, and these unanswered questions can fuel his confusion. Concern often accompanies this confusion, particularly if the man values the relationship or communication you share. If texting has been an integral part of how you connect, your silence might feel like an emotional withdrawal. This can lead to him feeling a sense of loss or worry, as texting often serves as a form of validation in relationships. For instance, when someone consistently reaches out, it reassures the other person of their interest and engagement. When that reassurance is suddenly absent, it can create feelings of insecurity or even anxiety, especially if he doesn't know the reason for the change. In some cases, this confusion and concern might drive him to take immediate action. He might reach out to you with questions, asking if everything is okay or if he's done something to upset you. This reaction stems from a desire to resolve the uncertainty and restore the normalcy of your communication. However, not all men will react this way. Some might internalize their confusion, choosing instead to wait and observe, hoping the silence is temporary and that you will eventually resume the conversation. This waiting game can be a test of patience for both parties, as it leaves room for assumptions and misunderstandings to grow. The emotional impact of your silence largely depends on the nature of your relationship and the dynamics you've established. If the relationship is relatively new, the man might feel more unsure about how to interpret your behavior. He may hesitate to reach out for fear of appearing too eager or needy. On the other hand, if the relationship is well established, he might feel more comfortable addressing the issue directly. In either case, your decision to stop texting creates a moment of pause, forcing him to evaluate his feelings and the importance of your connection. It's important to note that not all men will experience confusion or concern in the same way. Individual personalities, past experiences, and communication styles play significant roles in shaping how someone responds to a lack of texting. Some men might interpret your silence as a challenge or test, while others may view it as a sign that you're pulling away emotionally. These interpretations can influence their subsequent actions, whether it's attempting to reach out, mirroring your silence, or reevaluating the relationship altogether. For men who are deeply invested in the relationship, your absence might highlight how much they value the connection. They may realize that they've taken your communication for granted and feel compelled to make an effort to reestablish it. On the flip side, if the man is less invested or uncertain about his feelings, your decision to stop texting might not provoke a strong reaction. In such cases, his lack of response can be revealing, providing insight into his level of commitment and interest. Stopping communication through texting serves as a significant turning point in the dynamic between you and the man. His reaction or lack thereof offers a glimpse into his emotional state and the depth of his feelings for you. Whether he reacts with confusion, concern, or indifference, it's a moment that sheds light on how he perceives the relationship and what he values most in it. While his initial response may not provide all the answers, it's an opportunity for both of you to reflect on the relationship and the role that communication plays in maintaining it. When you stop texting a man, a common reaction is for him to enter a state of panic or overreaction. This response often stems from a sudden realization that something has changed, and it may provoke an instinctive effort to regain control of the situation. Texting in modern relationships acts as a lifeline for connection, providing reassurance, validation, and a sense of stability. When that lifeline is severed, especially without explanation, it can trigger an emotional reaction that manifests as panic or impulsive behavior. For a man who has grown accustomed to regular communication, the abrupt absence of texts can feel unsettling. It's as though a vital line of interaction has been unexpectedly cut off, leaving him uncertain about your intentions or feelings. This uncertainty often translates into an immediate sense of urgency, prompting him to act in ways that might seem exaggerated or even irrational. He may find himself checking his phone constantly, overanalyzing previous messages, or repeatedly drafting texts he hesitates to send. One common reaction to this panic is the act of overtexting. The man might send a flurry of messages asking questions like, "Are you okay, or did I do something wrong?" These texts are often driven by a desire to understand the situation and to reestablish the connection that has been disrupted. This behavior can be a mix of genuine concern and a need for reassurance, as he attempts to bridge the gap created by your silence. While these messages may come across as desperate or needy, they often reflect a deeper fear of losing the bond you've built. Overreaction can also extend beyond texting. The man may escalate his efforts to contact you through other means, such as phone calls, social media messages, or even seeking in-person interactions if possible. This escalation can signal a heightened level of anxiety about the situation. He might feel compelled to do whatever it takes to get your attention, whether that means asking mutual friends about you or leaving heartfelt voicemails explaining how he feels. These actions, while sometimes overwhelming, highlight the emotional impact your silence has had on him. For some men, the panic triggered by your absence may be less about losing you and more about the loss of control they feel in the relationship dynamic. Communication often creates a sense of balance, and when one person withdraws, it can leave the other feeling powerless or unsure of how to respond. This perceived imbalance can amplify their reaction, leading them to take steps that might not align with their usual behavior. For instance, a man who typically plays it cool might suddenly become more vocal or expressive, revealing emotions he previously kept hidden. However, not all overreactions are overt or external. Some men might internalize their panic, experiencing a storm of emotions without outwardly showing it. They might replay scenarios in their minds, questioning what went wrong and how they could have handled things differently. This internal struggle can lead to feelings of frustration or helplessness as they grapple with the lack of clarity your silence has created. In such cases, their overreaction may be more about their inner turmoil than any visible action they take. It's also worth noting that overreaction is often influenced by the man's personality, past experiences, and attachment style. For example, someone with an anxious attachment style may be more prone to panic and overreaction, as they fear abandonment and crave constant reassurance. On the other hand, someone with an avoidant attachment style might suppress their feelings, appearing unaffected while internally struggling to process the situation. Understanding these nuances can provide insight into why a man reacts the way he does when you stop texting. The intensity of a man's overreaction can also reveal the importance he places on the relationship. If he goes to great lengths to reach out or express his concern, it often indicates that he values your connection deeply. Conversely, if his reaction is mild or indifferent, it might suggest that the relationship holds less significance for him. In either case, his response offers valuable insight into his emotional investment and priorities. A man's panic or overreaction when you stop texting reflects the depth of the emotional void your silence creates. It's a moment that forces him to confront his feelings and evaluate the role you play in his life. While his actions may seem excessive or impulsive, they often come from a place of vulnerability and a desire to repair the connection. For both parties, this reaction serves as a turning point, shedding light on the dynamics of the relationship and the significance of communication in maintaining it. When you stop texting a man, he might react by expressing a mix of frustration and confusion. This reaction often stems from the sudden disruption in communication that he has come to rely on, leading to a range of emotional responses. Frustration can arise from a feeling of helplessness in the face of silence, while confusion often relates to a lack of understanding about the reasons behind your decision to stop texting. Together, these emotions can create a complex landscape that influences how he perceives the relationship and his role within it. Initially, a man may experience frustration due to the abrupt change in communication patterns. When texting is a routine part of the relationship, stopping suddenly can feel like a jolt to the system. For many men, regular communication serves as a foundation for understanding where they stand with their partner. The absence of texts may leave him feeling like he's been cut off from an important lifeline. This disruption can lead to feelings of annoyance or irritation, particularly if he values the connection and is left wondering why things have changed. Frustration can also stem from a sense of abandonment. If he has grown accustomed to your texts, suddenly losing that contact may trigger feelings of insecurity or fear. He might interpret your silence as a signal that you're no longer interested in him or the relationship. This feeling of being left in the dark can lead to a heightened sense of urgency, pushing him to react in ways that may seem disproportionate to the situation. The emotional investment he has made in the relationship can intensify these feelings, making it challenging for him to process the silence constructively. The confusion he experiences can be multifaceted. On one level, he may find himself questioning his own actions and words, wondering if something he did prompted your decision to stop texting. This introspection can lead to overthinking and anxiety as he replays past conversations in his mind, searching for clues about what went wrong. This cycle of doubt can be exhausting and may even affect his self-esteem, leading him to second-guess his worthiness as a partner. On another level, he might be uncertain about your intentions. If you were previously engaged and responsive, your sudden silence can feel disorienting. He may struggle to reconcile your previous interactions with the current state of affairs. This confusion can leave him feeling lost as he grapples with the question of whether to reach out or to wait for you to make the next move. The lack of clarity can create an emotional stalemate, where neither party feels comfortable addressing the situation directly. The way a man expresses his frustration and confusion can vary significantly based on his personality and coping mechanisms. Some may respond by sending multiple messages, seeking answers and clarity, while others might withdraw into themselves, struggling to articulate their feelings. A more assertive individual may voice their frustration directly, asking you why you've stopped texting and demanding an explanation. This approach can come across as confrontational, but it often stems from a place of vulnerability and a desire for resolution. In contrast, a man who tends to internalize his feelings may choose to cope with his frustration and confusion privately. He might vent to friends or family about the situation, seeking external validation and support. While this approach can provide him with a sense of relief, it may also delay the process of addressing the underlying issues in the relationship. This internal struggle can lead to a buildup of tension and unresolved feelings, which may resurface later in the relationship if not addressed. His frustration and confusion can trigger a range of behaviors, from reaching out to expressing anger or disappointment. If he feels particularly hurt by your silence, he might lash out in response, leading to unproductive arguments or misunderstandings. This reaction can be counterproductive, as it may push you further away, rather than encouraging open communication. Understanding this emotional landscape can provide valuable insight into the dynamics of the relationship and the importance of addressing concerns directly. A man's frustration and confusion when you stop texting him highlight the complexities of emotional communication in relationships. These reactions are often intertwined with feelings of vulnerability and a desire for connection, making it essential for both parties to engage in open dialogue. While it can be tempting to avoid discussing these feelings, addressing the underlying issues can lead to a deeper understanding of each other and the relationship as a whole. Navigating this emotional terrain requires empathy and patience from both sides. It's crucial for him to express his feelings in a constructive manner and for you to be open to discussing what led to the change in communication. This exchange can foster healing and growth, ultimately strengthening the relationship and ensuring that both partners feel heard and valued. Through this process, frustration and confusion can transform into an opportunity for growth, allowing both individuals to reassess their needs and expectations while building a stronger foundation for the future. When you stop texting a man, one possible reaction is that he may reach out to you with a sense of urgency and increased communication. This response is often driven by a combination of curiosity, concern, and the desire to reconnect. The abrupt change in your communication pattern can prompt him to evaluate the situation and take proactive steps to reestablish the connection, leading to a flurry of texts or calls aimed at understanding what is happening between you. Initially, the urgency he feels may stem from a fear of losing you or the relationship altogether. If he senses that your silence indicates a significant shift in your feelings or intentions, he may become motivated to act quickly to clarify the situation. This reaction is rooted in his emotional investment in the relationship and his desire to maintain that connection. For many men, the thought of losing someone they care about can be a powerful motivator, prompting them to overcome any hesitations they might have had about expressing their feelings or taking action. His outreach may take various forms, ranging from casual texts checking in on you to more direct inquiries about why you've stopped communicating. Depending on his personality, he may opt for a lighthearted approach, trying to break the ice with humor or casual conversation to gauge your mood. This tactic allows him to feel out your reaction and assess whether there is still a possibility for reconnection. Alternatively, he may adopt a more serious tone, directly addressing the silence and expressing his concerns about the state of the relationship. This approach indicates a level of maturity and emotional awareness as he acknowledges the change and seeks to address it head-on. As he reaches out, you might notice a shift in the nature of his texts. There may be a sense of urgency in his messages, a desire for immediate clarification about your feelings and the future of the relationship. He might ask questions such as, "Is everything okay, or did I do something wrong?" This urgency reflects not only his concern, but also a genuine desire to understand your perspective and emotions. He may be hoping to reestablish the emotional connection that has felt disrupted by your decision to stop texting. The increased communication can also serve as a form of vulnerability on his part. By reaching out, he opens himself up to the possibility of rejection or further silence, which can be daunting. However, this willingness to take a risk demonstrates his commitment to the relationship and his desire to maintain the connection you both have built. This moment of vulnerability can be an important turning point for both of you, allowing for deeper conversations about feelings, expectations, and the future of your relationship. Additionally, his reaction may be influenced by the nature of your previous interactions. If your communication had previously been open and honest, he may feel more comfortable addressing the sudden silence directly. Conversely, if there were unresolved tensions or unspoken feelings prior to your decision to stop texting, his outreach might carry a more urgent tone as he seeks to address any underlying issues that may have contributed to the change. In either case, his desire to reconnect signals a recognition of the importance of communication in sustaining the relationship. As he continues to reach out, he may also express a willingness to engage in more meaningful conversations. This could involve discussing his feelings about the relationship, what he values about your connection, and what he hopes for the future. This shift from casual texts to more serious discussions can signify a desire for growth and deeper intimacy within the relationship. By being open about his emotions, he may encourage you to share your thoughts as well, fostering an environment of mutual understanding and support. Moreover, the increased communication can lead to a reevaluation of the relationship dynamics. As you both engage in these conversations, you may discover areas for improvement or potential changes that could enhance your connection. For instance, if there have been misunderstandings or unmet needs, addressing them openly can help clear the air and create a stronger foundation for the relationship moving forward. This collaborative effort to communicate can be a turning point, allowing both partners to feel heard and valued. However, it's essential to approach this increased communication with an understanding of your own feelings and boundaries. While his urgency to reconnect can be encouraging, it's important to ensure that you are comfortable with the pace and nature of the discussions. Open communication works best when both parties feel secure and respected in expressing their thoughts and emotions. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or pressured by his outreach, it's okay to set boundaries and communicate your needs. When a man reaches out with urgency after you stop texting him, it highlights the fundamental importance of communication in relationships. His reaction reveals a desire to maintain the connection and a willingness to engage in meaningful conversations about feelings and expectations. This response can serve as a catalyst for growth and understanding, allowing both partners to reassess their needs and strengthen their emotional bond. Through open dialogue, you can both explore the potential for deeper intimacy and a more fulfilling relationship, turning a moment of silence into an opportunity for connection and growth. In conclusion, when you stop texting a man, his reaction often involves a mix of urgency and a desire to reconnect. This response highlights the emotional investment he has in the relationship and his commitment to maintaining the connection. As he reaches out to seek clarification and address any underlying concerns, this moment can serve as a catalyst for deeper communication and understanding. Ultimately, by engaging in open dialogue, both partners can navigate the complexities of their feelings, reassess their needs, and strengthen their bond, transforming a period of silence into an opportunity for growth and intimacy. When you stop texting a man, another potential reaction is that he mirrors your silence, choosing not to reach out or respond in any noticeable way. This behavior can stem from a variety of reasons, including uncertainty, pride, or belief that it's best to wait and see what happens. While his decision to mirror your silence might appear indifferent on the surface, it often masks deeper emotions or internal conflicts. For many men, mirroring silence is a defensive strategy. If a man feels uncertain about why you've stopped texting, he might opt to hold back as a way to protect himself from potential rejection or confrontation. This can be especially true if he interprets your silence as a sign that you're upset, uninterested, or trying to pull away. Rather than risk making the situation worse by reaching out, he may choose to match your behavior, believing it's safer to let things play out naturally. Pride can also play a significant role in a man's decision to stay silent. Some men view relationships and communication through the lens of balance and power dynamics. If he perceives your lack of texting as a deliberate move to test or challenge him, his response may be to mirror that silence to maintain a sense of control. This reaction can be particularly common among men who are cautious about appearing overly eager or emotionally vulnerable. By not reaching out, he may feel he's preserving his dignity or avoiding the appearance of desperation. Another reason for mirroring silence is a lack of clarity about how to respond. If your decision to stop texting came without explanation, the man might feel unsure about what you want or expect from him. This uncertainty can lead to hesitation as he tries to figure out whether reaching out is the right move. He might worry that his attempts to communicate could be unwelcome or misinterpreted, so instead, he chooses to wait for you to make the next move. This waiting period can be frustrating for both parties, as it often leads to further misunderstandings and unspoken assumptions. For some men, mirroring silence is a way to test your level of interest. They might see your lack of communication as an opportunity to observe how much effort you're willing to put into maintaining the relationship. By stepping back and not texting, they aim to gauge whether you'll take the initiative to reach out. This approach can reveal a lot about the dynamics of the relationship, as it puts the focus on mutual effort and engagement. However, it can also backfire if both parties are waiting for the other to act, leading to prolonged silence and potential resentment. It's also possible that a man who mirrors your silence is simply taking the time to reflect and process his emotions. The absence of your texts might prompt him to think deeply about the relationship, his feelings for you, and what he wants moving forward. This period of introspection can be valuable as it allows him to gain clarity about his priorities and how he perceives your connection. However, during this time, his silence may be misinterpreted as indifference, even if he's actively thinking about the situation. The way a man mirrors your silence can provide insight into his communication style and emotional maturity. A man who handles the situation with patience and understanding might use the silence as an opportunity to regroup and approach the relationship with a fresh perspective. On the other hand, a man who mirrors your silence out of pride or stubbornness might struggle to address the underlying issues directly. His reaction can reveal whether he's willing to engage in open and honest communication, or if he's more comfortable avoiding potential conflict. Mirroring silence doesn't necessarily mean a man doesn't care about the relationship. In fact, it can sometimes indicate the opposite. By stepping back, he might be giving you the space he thinks you need, respecting your decision to disengage while also grappling with his own emotions. However, it's important to consider the context and the nature of your relationship. If the silence drags on without resolution, it could signal a lack of investment or an inability to communicate effectively, both of which are important factors to address. When a man mirrors your silence, his reaction serves as a reflection of both his personality and his feelings for you. While it may be frustrating or confusing, this behavior often holds valuable clues about the dynamics of your relationship and how he handles challenges in communication. Whether his silence is driven by pride, uncertainty, or a desire to protect himself, it opens the door to deeper questions about compatibility and the role of communication in building a strong connection. When you stop texting a man, one possible reaction is that he becomes more introspective and reflective about the relationship and his feelings for you. This period of self-reflection can lead to a deeper understanding of what the relationship means to him, prompting him to evaluate his emotions, needs, and the overall dynamic between you two. This reaction is not uncommon, as the absence of communication can create space for personal insight and growth. For many men, the sudden silence may serve as a catalyst for reflection. Texting often becomes a primary mode of communication in modern relationships, providing a continuous thread of connection. When that thread is cut, it can create a moment of pause, allowing him to step back and consider the nature of the relationship. He may begin to ask himself a series of questions. How much do I value this connection? What are my feelings for her? Am I ready for the level of commitment she might want? These questions can lead to a profound internal dialogue about his desires and intentions. This introspective phase can also help him confront any fears or insecurities he may have about the relationship. For example, if he has been hesitant to express his feelings or take the relationship to the next level, your decision to stop texting might force him to acknowledge those fears. He may realize that he has been avoiding difficult conversations or shying away from commitment, and your silence acts as a wake-up call. This realization can lead to a renewed sense of clarity, prompting him to evaluate whether he is ready to take the necessary steps forward or if he needs to reassess his feelings altogether. Additionally, the absence of communication can give him the opportunity to reflect on the overall compatibility between you two. He may consider whether your values, goals, and lifestyles align, and if the relationship is fulfilling for both parties. This kind of reflection can be constructive, as it allows him to identify any potential issues that may need addressing before they escalate. For example, he might realize that while he enjoys your company, there are fundamental differences in priorities or expectations that could impact the future of the relationship. During this time, he may also find himself thinking about the moments you've shared, recalling positive experiences and the emotional connection you've built. This nostalgia can deepen his appreciation for the relationship, highlighting what he stands to lose if the silence continues. He might reflect on what initially drew him to you and how those qualities still resonate with him. This reflection can lead to a greater understanding of his feelings and an increased desire to reconnect, especially if he recognizes the value of what you both share. Furthermore, this period of introspection can inspire him to think about how he can improve his communication skills. If he realizes that he tends to take communication for granted or is too comfortable in the status quo, he may be motivated to change his approach in the future. This self-awareness can lead to personal growth, allowing him to become more attuned to both his own feelings and those of his partner. He might consider how he can be more proactive in expressing his thoughts and feelings moving forward, which can ultimately strengthen the relationship. It's also essential to acknowledge that the depth of this introspection can vary from person to person. Some men may dive deep into their feelings and emerge with a clearer understanding of themselves and their relationship goals, while others may only scratch the surface. The way a man processes this period of silence often reflects his personality, emotional intelligence, and past experiences. For instance, a man who is naturally more introspective may find this time invaluable, while someone who tends to avoid self-reflection may struggle to articulate what he's experiencing. The outcome of this introspective phase can lead to different actions. If he gains clarity about his feelings in the relationship, he may feel inspired to reach out to you with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to discuss what he's realized. On the other hand, if he concludes that the relationship is not what he wants, he may choose to distance himself further. In either case, this introspective reaction can significantly impact the trajectory of your relationship. When a man becomes introspective after you stop texting him, it signals a moment of potential growth for both individuals. This period of reflection can lead to important conversations about feelings, needs, and expectations, fostering a deeper understanding of each other. Whether it results in a strengthened connection or a decision to part ways, this introspective journey highlights the importance of communication and self-awareness in relationships. It underscores the idea that moments of silence, while uncomfortable, can provide essential opportunities for personal and relational growth, allowing both partners to reassess their priorities and feelings in a meaningful way.